Good evening. Hi, thanks for coming. My name is Carl Kraus. I'm the post-secondary counselor here at the high school. If any of you have older kids, you're used to my emails. For all of you who this is your first child or your oldest child, you're going to get a lot more of my emails over the next couple of years. Thank you very much for coming. There will be more handouts afterward. I never know how many to expect who comes to these things, so I made 125, hoping for 125, and I think we passed that a little bit today, so thanks a lot for coming out. Obviously, you're all here for a reason, and you're all here because you're interested in something about college. At the high school, we have a really high college-going rate. I wish I knew what our college graduation rate was, because I'm going to show you some numbers later that I'm not positive how we match up to national numbers, but what today is really about is just to get you thinking and give you some information and answer any questions you have. And anytime you have questions, raise your hand, okay? If I'm going to get to it, I'll tell you we're going to get to it. If I can answer it right then, I will. So I may not get everything answered today, but I'll try and get through as much of this as I can, okay? I assume you all know that the likelihood of you getting a job, and a pretty good paying job, is if you have a college degree. This will be posted, by the way, at some point, so you don't need to take pictures of all the slides. I can send it to you if you just email me. We're taping the whole thing tonight too. At some point in time, we'll be posting on the website. So, but if you see earnings, the higher the degree, the more earnings you have, the more schooling you have, the less likely you'll be unemployed. Okay, I think that's common sense. All right, we had a night here a couple weeks ago about alternate careers to a four-year college, and we'll talk about some of those things today too. And our keynote speaker said, it doesn't matter so much of what you do or what degree you have, but he doesn't know any hard worker that's unemployed. I think that's just a great thing to think about. If you're willing to work hard, you can always have a job. So why am I doing something for freshmen and sophomores right now? It's important to start thinking about, especially depending on your aspirations. If you have aspirations of going to a Big Ten university, if you have aspirations of going to a highly selective liberal arts school, one of the fancy schools on the East Coast that have very selective numbers, I want you guys to kind of understand what it's going to take and what you need to start doing now to maybe get into those places, okay? You can't apply until you're a senior. So don't go home and try and apply to college because you can't do that anyway, okay? Senior year, beginning of senior year, that's when you apply, okay? But until that point, we have lots of things that we can get done. I'm going to answer some of these questions today, all right? What do I want to study? What classes should I take? How involved do I have to be? I'll talk about some fallacies of that. What do different colleges mean? Okay, what does it mean? College, university, community college. What am I looking for in that setting? Do I want a four-year degree? Am I more excited about a two-year degree? Do I want just some hands-on training? We'll talk a little bit about that. And what part do grades play in all this? Okay. Everyone has a place going to college. So some people think, like, I have an IEP in high school, I'll never be able to go to college. Totally untrue. In fact, you get the same accommodations even in an IEP or 504 in high school. You get the same things in college. Okay? The biggest difference is, as soon as you turn 18, mom and dad aren't involved. They will only talk to the student about the student's issues. Okay? So if you have an IEP and you have a 504 and you want accommodations, it's all up to you to do that. So I really preach advocacy as a high school student. If you know that you get extended time or a small setting or something like that because of your disability, you have to be able to express that now to your teachers to get used to doing that when you get to college, okay? on Wednesday this week, our tech campus. Now, if you're a sophomore, you've heard about this in FAME last year. If you're a freshman, you haven't heard about it yet. We have a tech campus in Lake County. It's on the College of Lake County campus, but its own entity, its own building. It's basically a tech high school. We do not have automotive here at the high school. We do not have woodworking here at the high school. We don't have laser photonics here at the high school. There's some things that we don't have. So there's a conglomerate of about 15 high schools that all go to tech campus and learn some of these things. You could do it for 2 years, you can do it for 1 year, but you can start as a junior. This is just a very small number of the things that are out there that you can do. We have students getting out with their certified nursing assistants, getting jobs right away, finishing up their RN degree, staying online, getting their bachelor's degree online, and never actually going away to college and be able to become a nurse in 4 years. Okay, so there's a lot of different things you can do at Tech Campus that we can't do here. So if you're like, I like the idea of maybe going somewhere, getting my hands a little dirty during the day, not just sitting in a classroom, this is something to look at, okay? Like I said, there's an open house on the 6th. The website is really difficult. It's called Tech Campus. Okay, if you just look that up, this will pop up, and it'll give you all of the different programs that it has. So, what do colleges want? Here's one thing I'll say right off the top. Colleges don't want you to take classes you don't want to take. Okay? Don't take classes because you think you should. Take classes because you want to. Now, people look at me funny sometimes. There's a fallacy of being well-rounded. Okay? If you're well-rounded and trying to do a little bit of everything, you're not doing anything particularly well. You're probably doing everything okay. If you're a pointy kid, which means like, I really like math, I really like theater, I really like band, be pointy. Okay? Pointy is what makes us different. How do you tell apart well-rounded kids? They all look the same. Pointy is what makes us different. Okay? So if you're a math science kid, you do not have to take AP US History. If you don't like it, don't take it. Okay? So I'm just kind of saying that because a lot of these things are going to come out of, what do I need to do? What's going to get me into these schools? Be yourself. Be the best version of you as possible. That's all we want. Okay? We talk about appropriately challenging classes. I'll break this down. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I think everyone needs to know this. So this is from National Association of College Admission Counseling, which is NACAC. It's a national association of people like me at the high school level, and then people on the college level that visit our schools and admissions people from the college side, okay? What this big chart says is basically that the most important thing that almost all colleges say are really important are your grades. Grades in all your classes, grades in your college prep classes, what level of class you take, and then down here, number 4 is your test score. We're going to talk a lot more about test scores, because I know some of you are already scared about taking your standardized test, okay? And I'm going to promise you, it doesn't matter that much. The best indicator of college success is high school GPA, 100% of the time. Most students, whatever GPA they get in high school, they pretty much get the same GPA in college. Pretty much, okay? So I find that very interesting for people to understand. It's really about just doing well every day in class. We talk about taking core classes. So your core classes are in the 5 academic areas: English, science, math, social studies, and world language. Okay? We always preach the more you can take of each one, up to 4, the more options you're going to have. Okay? The big question is always world language. How much world language do I need? None? If you don't want to take any? Some, depending on the college. No college has a 4-year language admission requirement. Nobody says you need 4 years of language to get admitted. Okay? There are some schools that want 3, which I think is really weird, but they want 3. A lot of them, 2 is helpful, but not required. And some of them don't care. So to give yourself the most options, take at least 4 years of each of those. Now, if you're a pointy kid, and you're going to take 4 years of English only and never take an AP class, outstanding, that's great. But if you're going to be like me in high school and take 7 science classes in 4 years, that's awesome. I was the pointy kid. I loved science. I had 3 science classes my senior year. Okay, 7 total. I took every science class we had offered. I was a biology major in college, where I started. So if there's something on here that you're like, I don't want to take 4 years of social studies, don't take 4 years of social studies. Especially if you're a science kid, they're not going to care how much social studies you had. They're going to care about what your science and math is. Okay? So it's okay to be pointy. I'm giving you permission. People think it's funny all the time. I have 2 daughters in college. So I've been on your seat a few times. I have a senior and a freshman. And people are amazed all the time that, one, I held them back in math as a freshman. They were recommended for a class, and I said, no, we're going to pull them back. We're going to make sure they know what they're doing and do well, and then we'll worry about where they end up, because we don't care where they end up. They'll get where they need to go eventually. But we're going to make sure they do well early. And also, I talked them out of taking AP classes that they think they should take. And I said, no, don't take that one. You'll be miserable. Let's do something else instead. And people always find that fascinating that the college counselor is not pushing AP classes. Because they didn't want those classes. They weren't those kids. They took other AP classes in other areas, but some of the ones they thought they should take, I talked them out of it. They thank me now. For once, Dad was actually right. It took him 4 years to say that, but that was right. So just think in generalities. Take at least 4 years of everything if you can. If you want to take 4 years of world language, but it starts hurting your GPA, and you start getting C's or something more destructive than a C, stop taking it. It's not worth it. Okay? You want to keep your GPA high. So we talk about appropriately challenging. If you are in honors classes as a freshman, and you are consistently getting an A in honors English, freshman year, sophomore year, maybe and you like it and you're pretty good at it, maybe that's when you take an AP class. Maybe that's a good idea then to take a class when you're there. If you're a college prep kid and you start off in college prep English and you got an A in that, and college prep English sophomore year got an A in that, well then maybe junior year you step up to the honors level. Okay? But if you get a C in honors biology and a C in honors chemistry, should you really take AP Chem or Bio? You might be pushing it. It might be too hard. There are classes that are too hard for people. That's okay. All right? So we want you to be appropriately challenging. Do well and push yourself in the classes that you know you like and can do well in. You don't have to take them all. Some kids can. Absolutely, some kids sitting in here can take every AP class junior and senior year and have no problem getting good grades. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's great. But not everybody's like that. So don't try and keep up with the Joneses. Don't try and keep up with your best friend. You have to worry about what's best for you, not what they're doing. And that's a big problem that I see with our juniors and seniors. Like, well, everyone else is taking AP Bio. I have to take it. You don't. Okay? So make sure you do what's right for you. For those of you who are kind of new to GPA at the high school level, this is a piece of our grading scale, okay? We use a weighted 4.0 system, which means that an A in a college prep class is 4. That's what the scale is weighted on. That's the norm, okay? Because it's weighted, for honors and AP classes, we add extra weight to grades, okay? So you see an A in the college prep class, but if you go to an honors class and you get a B, it's still a 4.0. A B in an AP class is a 4.33. Are you really hurting your GPA if you challenge yourself and not get an A? Not really. You're still getting above a 4 or higher. Okay? So it's okay to challenge yourself appropriately in the classes that you like. In fact, if we go back, you remember it said GPA, but it also said rigor. College is like this. They want you to push yourself. You know why? College is really hard. My freshman daughter just had her first illness and her third chemistry test on the same day. And she couldn't get her medicine because she was studying for her test, and the test was in the afternoon, and she wouldn't go get her medicine, and she was miserable and had a fever, and her throat hurt, and she had a bad lunch, and she had to take a test. It was hard. High school wasn't that hard. College is hard. You got to do all these adult things by yourself. Mom and dad can't get you better on a text message. Okay? So I'm glad she pushed herself. I'm glad it was uncomfortable because she made it through. It happened. She worked it out. Okay? It's okay to be uncomfortable about things. That's what life is. Things aren't always perfect. So it's okay to be uncomfortable as long as you handle it appropriately. Okay? I harp all the time on freshmen. My freshman basketball players, my freshmen in fame. I really want them to really concentrate on their GPA. Because GPA might be the single most important thing that you can get for moving on after high school. But it starts freshman year. Your grade point average it's an average, right? Freshman year, so in January, the freshmen are going to get their first GPA based on 7 grades. By the time they're a junior and senior, it's going to be based on 28, 36, they're going to be 35 grades, right? All those grades are a little less important as you add them up. When you can get good grades on your first 7 classes, your first 14 classes, and you can get that GPA nice and high as a freshman, it's really easy to keep it there. If you start below that, it's way harder to bring up, okay? Most colleges will not see your senior year grades until you graduate because they're going to make most of the decisions based on your first 6 semesters. Some colleges will want to see your 7th semester, so first semester, senior year. Some colleges will wait for that. But for the majority of colleges, your first 6 semesters up through junior year is what they're going to base your college acceptance on. Okay? Here's a quick example. 14 classes freshman year. 3 A's, 5 B's, 6 C's, 2.78. Sophomore year, you don't do much better. No A's, all B's and C's. Now the likelihood of this happening is not very high. If junior year you get all A's, straight A's, 14 classes, you only get it up to a 3. Okay? Now, would a college actually mind this too much? No, as long as you keep that up. College is like upward trends. If you get better the closer you get to the college, that's a good thing. That means you're figuring it out. That means you're getting smarter as you're getting closer to going to college. They like that. They want you to get better as you get closer. Okay, so they think that's a good thing. But that would be really hard to do, right? Of not getting any A's one year and then just getting straight A's after that. Okay, but that wouldn't be a bad thing. It'd be okay. As opposed to being pretty average all the time is pretty good because your GPA doesn't move a lot. As a note of reference, I want to say usually our average senior year GPA weighted is like a 3.4, which is really extremely high in the world. 3.4 is a really high average GPA, okay? But that's kind of what our average senior GPA is by the time they graduate. The highest is around a 5.2, which is also crazy, but some kids get it. In the way of test scores, I'm going to tell you right now, don't be in a hurry. Relax. You don't have to take 8 practice tests and take the ACT 4 times just to get the timing of it right. You're going to be fine. You're already sitting here listening to some Yahoo talk about college. You're interested. You're going to be fine. You know what you want to do. Okay? Don't stress out on the test. It's becoming less important. It was down number 5, I think, or number 4 on that list, right? It's becoming less important because we know it's not equally on an equal playing field for all people. Okay, I'll talk a little more about that. You get the SAT as a junior. The entire state does. You will take practice PSATs as a freshman and as a sophomore and as a junior. Okay? So there's no hurry to go out and take a real one because you're probably not going to use that score anyway. So don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry to prep. I have people asking, oh, we're sophomore year, we got to start prepping for the test. Why would you pay for something you don't need, that you don't know you need? Okay? If you take the tests and you have parts that you want to improve on, then maybe you do some prep work. But if you're taking the appropriately challenging classes, if you're working hard in class, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing every day, the test usually takes care of itself. Okay? I don't think you should bother taking a real test until junior year. You're going to take the PSAT in October as a junior. You're going to take the SAT in April as a junior. If you want to take the ACT sometime, go ahead. Colleges don't care what test you take. They'll take either one. Any college, anywhere will take either test. Okay? It doesn't matter. Yes?
Is it true that after you take a test and you did poorly on just one part of it, like just the math, you can go back and just take that section again?
The ACT, starting 2020, you can take one piece of the test. After you take a full test, you can sign up and take one of the 4 sections again. That is new. So, good question. I'll keep going on that one. AP tests are, if you take an AP class, you have an opportunity to take the AP test. They're not used for admissions. They don't have any idea what scores you have unless you report it, but they don't care. They know you took the class. The only reason you're actually going to send the score into a college is if they're going to give you credit. And not every college gives you credit for every score. Okay? There's some selective colleges that don't give you any AP credit. There's some that if you're a biology major and you're coming here, we won't give you credit for AP Bio because we want you to take our biology. Okay? So even if you take 7, 8 AP classes, that doesn't mean you're going to get credit for all of them at whatever college you end up at. Okay? PSAT, juniors just took that last month. There is a National Merit NMSQT, which uses that October PSAT to kind of see if they qualify for the National Merit Scholarship competition. You'll worry about that when you're a junior. On April 4th, all of you will be taking some form of the PSAT. Okay? It's a good practice because it gives you the time. It's shorter than the SAT, but it's the same kind of questions and the same kind of scoring. Okay? Here's the difference between the two. ACT has more subjects. It has a scientific reasoning. The spoiler alert is that this part is in this part of the SAT. There's scientific reasoning part in the reading part of the SAT. They just don't have a separate test. Okay? You need to be a good reader to do well on the SAT, but you need to also be a good reader to do well on the ACT. Some kids take both. Some kids take one. My oldest daughter only took the ACT. She did fine on that. My youngest daughter took both twice. Came out of the SAT in June, like, that was so easy, I aced it, and took it the ACT the week after, like, that was horrible. The SAT she took, they said was too easy, and they graded it really hard. SAT said, oh, we gave too easy of a test, so we're going to grade it harder. So what would have been a much higher score 3 months before was a lower score. That's why she thought it was easy, because I guess it was. So she actually did better on the test she thought was harder than the test she thought was easier. Considerably different, too. SAT, less questions, more time per question. ACT, more questions, less time for question. Okay, kind of a general thing. Kids like one over the other sometimes. I don't think it matters. This is what I was saying about the test score becoming less important. There's about 1,000 colleges and universities that don't care if you ever send them a test for admission. There's a website called fairtest.org that lists them all out. But there's a lot of Amherst, University of Chicago, I mean, there's some really selective schools that are test optional. They don't really care if you send them a test score. You can still be admitted. You can still get scholarships. They know what you do for 3 hours on a Saturday morning is not the same as what you do every day in class for 3 years. Way easier to figure that out, right? That makes so much sense. Yet so many people freak out about this and spend thousands of dollars on this to prep them. Where it really, in the big picture of things, what you do every day, what you have control of every day is way more important. Okay? Going back to the test question. There's this thing called super scoring that some colleges do, which means if I took the ACT 3 times and I send all 3 scores into College X, they will look at the highest sub-score I get from every of those 3 tests and make a new composite score. So it might be higher than the 3 composite scores by themselves, but because they super score, I can have a higher composite score. Okay? That's what retaking one section of the test could help with. Here's the funny thing. Not every school super scores. So ACT is kind of saying, you can take one test. But if a school doesn't super score, it's not going to help you for that school. But it will help ACT make more money. Just saying. So that's a great website if you're really interested in that. If you know, like, I work my butt off every day in class. I do really well. I just freak out on tests. I get distracted. I'm not very good at them. There's a bunch of schools you can apply to that it doesn't matter. Again, AP tests 1 through 5 is your grade. The state of Illinois says if you get a 3 or higher, the school has to give you something, but that's just for our state schools, so the 12 state schools. Private schools, usually 4 or 5, you'll get credit for. Some selective schools, only 5s. Okay? If you don't want to take the test, don't take the test. Doesn't matter. If you want to take the test, take the test. Again, you may or may not get credit for it depending on where you go anyway. But again, if you like the subject and you can handle the rigor, go ahead and push yourself. Take the test if you're ready for it. If you're not ready for AP, it's hard. AP classes are hard. They're college level classes. That's why they give you college credit if you do well in it, because it's hard. Okay? If you're not ready, don't take that class. It's okay. Remember I said you have to be in 10 activities? You don't have to be in any activities. As long as you're spending your time doing something constructive and something that you like. Okay? How do you spend your time? You play sports? Awesome. Are you in clubs? Awesome. You get a job? Awesome. If you have to babysit? Awesome. It doesn't matter. Do something constructive, something that you like to do, and just do it well. There's no magic number. There's no you have to belong to X number of things in order to get into a college. It doesn't matter. There's no magic formula for any college admissions. Do the best you can in the things you like to do. That's all you need to worry about. I think we put way too much pressure on ourselves as parents, as students, that we think the college is going to make us successful. I will only be successful if I go to that college. There's a lot of successful people in this world that never went to college, that never went to an elite college, that go to state universities. The college itself will not make you successful. Might it help with a first job? Sure. But think to yourselves, if all of you, your parents think about this too, if you have a lawyer that you use or a doctor that you use, how many of you know where they went to undergrad? And then how many of you care where they went to undergrad? If you like your doctor, if you trust your lawyer, if you think your financial guy does a good job, do you care where they learn freshman English? Do you care where they learn biology? No. It's all your reputation after that. Okay? So many people get better jobs because of how well they've done the work while they've been doing the work, not where they went to school. Okay? So, more is not always better. Again, choose a couple things that you like, get involved, become a leader, try and, make something happen. That's great. Start your own club. That's cool too if you want to do something like that. All that stuff's great. But there's no magic formula. Again, do it because you want to do it. If you have a job, awesome. Okay? If you have to go home and babysit, that's fine. You're going to write about that in your application someday. All right? It's a family obligation. That's huge. Putting your family first, that's huge. Okay? So don't worry about those things. Yes?
For leadership, I know for sure that, I think it's juniors and seniors, they can apply to, work with, the gym teachers to help.
PE leaders and FAME leaders, right? Yep.
Is there any other type of, leaders around school?
So the questions about leadership, a lot of it happens junior or senior year for some of the selected ones. PE leadership, FAME leaders, you have to apply, you have to be selected, you have to be interviewed, okay? In clubs like Student Council and NHS, there's votes and things like that. That's usually for upperclassmen. There are students who started their own club freshman or sophomore year, and since they started it, guess who's president? Right? Every club has some sort of hierarchy, okay? Remember, leadership is not just being a president or a vice president or something like that. It could be taking charge of an area. It could be being a leader in a classroom. Maybe you are the one that helps set up a study group with your friends, and that's something your teacher will be able to talk about one day, right? So there's lots of different ways to be a leader. You don't have to be designated a leader in something in order to be a leader. You can lead in other ways too, but that's a great question. Freshmen, when you get to Naviance, I know you've been in it once, we're going to do a resume thing. If you have any older siblings, one of the questions in college applications, a lot of them, are name your top 10 activities, how long you've done them, how many hours a week, how many weeks a year. Good luck trying to remember that if you don't write it down. Okay? So there's a Naviance resume builder. You can put all those things in, all these different categories. You can start that now so you don't forget things later. Okay? All the parents who are looking at me like, what is Naviance? What are you talking about? All your kids have an account. Go home and look at it with them. Okay? They know what it is. Summer's a great time to do something different. Okay? You don't have to study every day. That's great. You don't have to go to school every day. That's even better. All right? But it's okay to have a job. It's okay to go on vacation. It's okay to read a book that you want to read. Okay? All these things are good things. A lot of you are getting mail. If you've tested well on the PSAT last year, some of you are getting mail about these leadership things and National Association of High School Scholars, and you can go to Stanford and do this medical scholars thing for $6,000. That's great. All those things are pretty much legit. If you have a question, email me. Most of them are pretty legit. Will they help you get into college? Absolutely not. Because it's not on an equal playing field. And what I mean by that, not everybody can afford $6,000 to spend 3 weeks at Stanford. So they can't use that to say, oh, this person's a better student to come to our college because they spent 3 weeks at Stanford. Where this other kid had to stay home and babysit his siblings all summer because his parents went to work. So they can't use that evaluatively. Is it a great experience? Yes. Will you get something out of it? Yes. Will it help you get into college? No. Okay? But there's a lot of those things out there that you can do. You can always volunteer. Volunteer, that's free to do. You can just volunteer. You don't need to join a club to volunteer. You don't need to be in charge of it. You can just go volunteer somewhere. The city has a bunch of places you can volunteer. There's a cat rescue in Palatine you go volunteer. You look for people to volunteer there. Okay? So you can volunteer for free. That's a great way to spend time. And you don't have to have any reason to do it because you just besides, I want to. bottom line, do something. Spend your time constructively. If you really want to go to college and you really want to, push yourself, do something. It doesn't have to be anything exciting or anything special. Just do something. Don't exercise your thumbs all summer. Unless you're really good and can make a couple $1 million doing it, but otherwise, do something else. Here's some of those facts I was talking about. So this year, or 2019, 3.7 million kids graduated high school. That number's down from 2016, which was the highest ever. That was up to like almost 4. About 70% of those students will go to college right away. College accepts students at a 67% rate, which is pretty good over 2 out of 3 make it every year. Nationally, and this is way higher than it used to be, an 81% retention rate. Retention rate is how many kids stay from freshman year to sophomore year. That's really good, 81. Used to be 5-6 years ago, it was like 74. So it's getting a little better. So I think more people are the right people are going to college. This is the always scary one. Only 60% of the people who start college finish in 6 years. Why? Changing majors, had to work, got too expensive, took a semester off, added a major, lots of reasons why it takes that. I don't think 7 and 8 year graduation rate goes much higher than that. I'm pretty sure it's over 30-some% of kids who start college never finish. It's a pretty high number. So Lake Zurich-wise, 90% of our kids go right away to college, either a 4-year or 2-year. Okay, most kids go to a 4-year. I wish I knew these numbers for our kids. I'm guessing they're higher. The caliber of student we have, our test score average, our GPA average, I assume that number's higher than the national average. Okay, but I wish I knew for sure what those last 2 numbers were. Okay. That's just some facts about Lake Zurich. So people ask, what do I have to do to get in college, or what is college? I compare college to pizza. Because everybody likes pizza. Actually, I got corrected on that last year. I had a girl raise her hand and goes, I don't like pizza. I didn't know that was possible, for one. But assume we all like pizza, okay? But not everybody likes the same kind of pizza. Even in my own house, the kind of pizza I like, my wife doesn't like, and my daughters don't like. But we all like pizza, we just like different kinds of pizza, okay? The same thing's kind of like college. We all kind of want to do something. We all want to learn something. We all want to get this experience and get this job. But what is good for me is not necessarily good for somebody else. And what's good for your best friend may not be good for you. So it's okay to like different pizzas. The whole idea is you're all having pizza, right? There are very competitive colleges. I think last year Stanford was I want to say rounded up to 4 acceptance rate. I think it was like a 3.8, 3.9% acceptance rate. That was the most selective. Harvard was right behind them at 4. And that's everybody. So it's athletes, it's legacies, it's my name's on the library. It's all those people are included in that percentage. All right? So if you take out all those special people, that 4% is probably closer to 2. Okay? So the more competitive you want in that experience, the more competitive you have to be. Now, does that mean perfect GPA and perfect test scores? That's a start. But guess what? Every student, every school has a top 10, top 20 kids. We have plenty of kids who are going to get perfect test scores in this very room. There will be perfect ACTs and SATs in this room. Their kids are going to have over a 5.0 GPA. That's great. So that's all the same. What makes you different? That's the part they're looking for. What makes you unique that they want? What do you have that's interesting to them? Everybody has this test scores. Everybody has a grade. Everyone took the AP classes. What's different? And that's why I said, don't worry about being well-rounded, because you can't tell them apart. But go ahead and be pointing, because now you're the kid that does blank. Now you're the kid that plays this weird instrument. Whatever it is that you do that makes you you, that's the thing, that part's going to set you apart. Okay? There's a study that they did a couple times, 10 years apart. On the link, there's a link to this. Basically, they looked at students who went to selective schools, Ivy League schools, the Harvards, the Princetons, the Yales, Dartmouths, etc. Then they looked at the kids who had the same credentials, the same test scores, the same GPA, but went to state universities. Okay? And after graduation, they checked in on all these people, and 10 years down the line, and they were making the same amount of money. Why? Because they were smart. They started off smart, they ended up smart, they stayed smart. They worked hard, they still worked hard, they always work hard. Right? The school will not make you successful. You working your tail off will make you successful. Doesn't matter where you go. Okay? So it's an interesting study. They did it 10 years apart, and the results came back exactly the same each time they did it. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Difference between public universities and private colleges. Public universities have to abide by the rules of the state that they are in. So sometimes they have to have a GPA, they have to have a test score, they have to have certain things to make it equal for everybody. They have to compare apples to apples, right? Because our GPA here is not the same as the GPA at New Trier, which is not the same GPA at Palatine. Okay? So the one thing that's kind of apples to apples is the test score. So most state schools want a test score. A lot of privates don't care so much, or they don't put as much weight on it, but most public schools want it. Some of them will have an essay, some of them won't. Some of them, if you hit a magic, Iowa State, and Northern Iowa, they have this little grid that you do, and if you have the right amount of classes with the right grades and your right test score, and you hit a magic 245 points, you're admitted. And you can usually figure that out and get a response back early in the application season in about 48 hours. So we had kids admitted to the University of Iowa in July this year, because it's pretty much straightforward. You hit these numbers, you're in. Okay? But there's lots of applications they have to go through. So they have to make it kind of easy on them too. Private schools, so you'll see that in a minute. They call it holistic. Us people on our side of the job think holistic is kind of bogus. Are you smart? Have you done well in class? Are you taking good classes? And honestly, can you pay? Okay? Pay sometimes helps. So holistic, they say they look at everything equally, your leadership, your test scores, your GPA, everything that you do, and that helps them make a decision. And they do, but they definitely put more weight in some areas than others. They compare you to your classes you've taken to what's offered. Okay, if you're like, I'm a biology major, and you never took chemistry or physics or biology in high school, they're going to think like you don't really want to be a biology major. Okay, so they're going to see what's offered at the school and what you're taking. Is your GPA good? Are you taking challenging classes? Are you increasing that rigor? Small colleges, they like extracurriculars because they're small, they need people to do all the things that they need happening, right? So at big schools, they have student government, they have bands, they have theaters, they have all those things. They also have thousands and thousands of kids to do all those things. At a small school, they still have band and theater and student leadership, all that, but they have way fewer kids to do that, so they want you to be involved in college too. Okay? So they don't want you just to sit in your room and study because that's really boring for one, and also the more engaged you are, the better you're going to do in college. So private schools want you to stay involved in a bunch of things when you go there. The essay makes a little more important in at a private school. Again, because all of the numbers are pretty similar in a lot of cases, they want to see what's different. Okay, so they want to see what you're going to write about. And we'll worry about that when you're a senior. What's nice, if you're a good face-to-face person, a lot of private schools give interviews. Interview with them. Okay? I'd rather interview with an admissions person than someone who graduated from there, an alumni. Alumni is not really evaluative, where the admissions person is a little more evaluative. Okay, but if you have a chance to interview and you're good at that, I say do it. I think it's a great idea. Community colleges, our kids, because you guys live in Lake County, most of you, College of Lake County is our community college. Some of you might live in Cook County, where Harper would be your community college. You can go to either one. CLC is cheaper because you're in district. Harper is more expensive unless you work in their district as a parent or a student. Then you can get in-district prices. Nothing to worry about too much now, but we kind of have this. CLC now has about 36 schools that have guaranteed transfer programs, which means that you do your first 2 years at CLC and you're guaranteed a spot at these 36 schools. Arizona State, Iowa State, DePaul, U of I Engineering is one of those. There's a variety of schools that if you start at CLC for about $5,000 a year, then you could go on to one of these other schools, a guaranteed spot. Okay, great price savings. There are some four-year colleges, or some two-year colleges that have agreements with four-year colleges. There's two-year colleges that have dorms that you can live on campus. Okay, and there's a great occupational outlook handbook. It's part of the Bureau of Labor Statistics information. It has a great slide of two-year jobs, or a lot of good jobs that only have a two-year requirement to get it. Okay. Again, that'll be a live link on the presentation, or if I send it to you. But it's Occupational Outlook Handbook, which is one of my favorite websites for searching for things. All right. What should we be doing? Study. Okay. Get the best grades you can as a freshman. That's your first job. All right. Are you challenging yourself appropriately? Are you working hard enough? Are you doing the things that you think you should be doing? All you freshmen and sophomores in here, you all have a class in your head that you could do better in. Think about what you could do to make that better. Okay? Are you involved in something else? Okay? Do you do the play? Are you involved in a sport? Are you in student leadership? Are you in government? Do something else. Okay? If you just go to school for 4 years, high school is going to be extremely boring. But if you go to class and do other things, it makes it much more exciting. Gives you another reason to come. And our most involved students are usually the ones that do the best. Our least involved students are usually the ones that don't do as well. Freshmen, you already did this learning style assessment. Parents, they did a learning style assessment. They put in their preferences of how they like to study and things like that. And it came back like, if you're not doing this, you should be, because you said you like this about studying. So you can go home and look at it with them. It's actually pretty good. I like it. So if you're laying on your bed with your headphones on trying to do your math homework, but when you actually did this learning style and said, you like quiet, bright places, maybe you're studying wrong. Okay? So go back and visit that. Sophomores, grades. It still means a little bit more sophomore year than it will junior and senior year. Now you've been in a sport or activity for a couple years. Are you getting ready to take that next step and try and get a leadership position? In December, we're going to go in all the English classes for the sophomores and do a career assessment and kind of say, these are some things you might be interested in. Okay? So we're going to be, let's start thinking about that. Junior year, you choose classes in February. What classes do I want to take? What's going to challenge me? What am I good at? What do I want to keep taking? You have a lot more freedom as a sophomore, junior, senior in the way of taking classes that are out there. We had a college fair in October. I know some of you were there. There's going to be another one at College of Lake County in March. There's going to be a national one at Rosemont. This is the first time they're doing a national one in Rosemont. I don't know the date yet. I want to say it's in March. There'll probably be about 400 colleges there from all over the United States. And there's also going to be one in Barrington in April. Whatever day the national championship basketball game is on, they always do it that day for some reason. But that's the day it'll be on. Okay? So if you're ready and want to do a college fair, do a college fair. This summer, if you're ready, go visit a school. My daughters visited their first schools between sophomore and junior year. My youngest one was done before she started senior year. She knew where she wanted to apply. She never visited another school. She applied to 3. She's at a college now. Okay? So it all depends when you're ready. You being here means you're probably kind of ready to start thinking about this. So go ahead and do a college fair. And again, GPA. This is so logical, but I still put it out there. This was really telling last year. Every year I do a thing called Bears Back Home, and it's the week before we leave for winter break. And I have freshmen in college who just graduated last year, and they just finished their first semester of college, come back. And they come to the college room, and the kids come in during lunch periods and can ask them anything they want about college and things like that. And one boy, and all the kids agreed on, he goes, when it's time for me to do work, I turn off my phone and put it away. And this is a male college freshman boy at University of Illinois that says, I turn off my phone, put it away, and I do my homework. What's ever on my phone will still be on my phone when I'm done my homework, when I'm done studying. Here's a little tip for you. Don't wait before you go to college to do that. Do it now. Put away your phone. Get something done. Everything's still going to be there. You're not going to miss anything. Promise. Okay? One thing I think that we did well with our daughters, there's probably a list of things I know we didn't do well with our daughters, but they had a homework spot that started when they were in elementary school, and they stayed there all the way through high school. They never did homework in their rooms. Their phones never went upstairs all through high school. If you had school the next day, you didn't watch TV. So people are like, don't say that to them. My parents are going to hear you. But it worked for us. And my daughters were very good students, and they were great kids. We played a lot of games. We read books together. So we had great years growing up. But they were very consistent. What we expected of them and what they did was very consistent. I think that helped them become very good students that way. Regardless of what you decide to do, regardless of what your job is now, there are some traits that will make you successful. If you are not easily discouraged, okay, if you have some grit, instead of the, I can't do this, how about the, I can't do this yet? What are you interested in? What do you want to do? What do you want to solve? What makes you tick? Is it making movies? Is it making music? Is it playing? What are you curious about? What do you want to learn more about? When things don't go well, how do you act? Do you give up? Do you complain? Do you blame somebody else? Okay? Self-control is when you can regulate your emotion to whatever happened. What do you love? What are you passionate about? When you could become seniors, I'm going to do essay workshops with you. I'm going to ask you, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do with your life? What do you love more than anything else? Okay? If you don't have a passion, find one. Social intelligence. What's going around you? Are you offending anybody? Are you saying anything wrong? Know your audience, right? Be aware of social situations. Don't complain, I only got an A- on this test, when the kid next to you got a C. Okay? Know some of these, have this awareness. Be optimistic. Things can get better. Don't think things are bad and are only going to get worse. Things can always get better. We call it winner learning, not winner losing. Everything that good has ever happened or been discovered probably started with a loss before you figured it out and fixed it. Okay? So we call it learning, not losing. Say thank you. It feels really good when you say thank you. It really does. You thank your parents for bringing you, thank your parents for having the clothes that you wear, for taking you on vacations, for having your own room. There's so many things for us to be thankful of that we forget because we just take it for granted. Okay? At some point in time, you know what's awesome? I want all of you to try this tomorrow. When you leave class, say thank you to your teacher. They're going to love it, and it's going to make you feel awesome. If you make that a habit, it's a great habit to get into. Start thinking, thank the lunch lady. Thank the janitors tomorrow. Okay? What's nice about all these 7 traits, if you don't have them, every single one of these you can learn how to do. Every single one. Okay? So that's what's nice about this. All of those things. So I tell kids all the time, if you're turning in an English paper, are you happy with that? Did you do it just to get it done? Or are you really happy with that is? Is that the best thing you put forward? Are you happy that your name is on this piece of work that you're turning into your teacher? If you're not, do you want to turn that in? We have a bunch of new counselors over the last few years in the counseling department. And we write letters of recommendation for students. And there's some students who have more difficult letters for us to write than others, if that makes sense. I say you have to be honest with yourself because your name's on it. Your name is everything. Your professional integrity is everything, especially when we're sending this out to colleges and we're writing recommendations and we're calling admissions people and coaches and things like that. My name's on those things. I'm going to be honest 100% of the time, and I'm only going to be happy with what I put forward. I'm never going to sugarcoat things and make someone look better because I'm afraid to hurt their feelings. Okay? My name is everything to me, and my reputation. Yours should be too. Okay? You have a whole sheet on Lingo, and if you didn't, there's more sheets on the way out, so grab those. There's a whole page on Lingo. There's some great websites out there. Bureau of Labor Statistics is that BLS one. Okay? So start looking at things. Start researching. Naviance, College Board, go to, ask your parents where they went to college, your aunts and uncles, your cousins, your neighbors. Ask these people what they do. If you don't want to go to college and you want to go become a plumber, great. Start figuring out how to become a plumber. I know they make a lot more money than I do. So go ahead and figure that out. This collegecost.ed.gov has a bunch of different links, which are great. All colleges have, on their website, they have to have this thing called a net price calculator, which means that you can put in the amount of money that your family makes, what state you're in, how many times your test scores, and it says, this is probably what's going to cost you to go to this college. You can go home and do that tonight, is do some cost calculators and kind of say, what would it look like if you wanted to go to U of I? Can we afford that? What would it look like to go to Northern Illinois, to Vanderbilt? Okay? You might be surprised on some of them. Some are going to be way more affordable than you think they are. Visits, again, sophomores, this is a great summer to visit. Spring break's a great time to visit. My oldest daughter, her first college she ever visited was in 8th grade on spring break. Sadly, it was Florida Gulf Coast University in Naples, Florida. Not a good first one to bring your kid to. Because every college should have palm trees and sand and beaches, right? Every college is like that. An alligator in the pond. Oh, that's cute. Not a good. She's in Kansas now, so it's nothing like Florida. So, Rock Chalk? Attaboy. So, if you're ready to visit, go ahead and visit. Start seeing what's out there. Start comparing some schools. Learning style. Everyone like, oh, I want the big school. I want the big football game. I want the rah, rah, rah. That's great. That happens like 6 times a year. The other time you're at that school, you're sitting in this auditorium with 400 of your closest friends learning chemistry from some person up here. Or accounting, or psychology, or name 100 classes that at a big school, you're going to have 8 to 10 classes that have 300 more kids. If you want to hide, you can hide, but can you learn if you're hiding? Are you willing to sit here where all those people disappear? Okay? So you have to think about that. You have to think about the size. You have to think about what that academic piece is going to be on a daily basis, not just the big fun stuff. If you want to play athletics in college, good luck. Work hard. Okay? That's a link that tells you the percentage of kids that play high school and actually play Division 1, 2, and 3 in college. In different sports. Okay, all the college sports are listed. You can also find that on NCAA website. It's all sorts of places. So here's the net price calculators, FAFSA forecaster, FAFSA free application for federal student aid. You'd fill this out senior year. October 1st of senior year is when you can start filling it out. You can't fill it out ahead of time. If you want federal free money, federal loans, or federal parent loans, you have to fill out the FAFSA. If you don't want any of those things, you don't have to fill it out. It has nothing to do with getting merit money. Okay? My daughters both have merit scholarships, and I've never filled out a FAFSA in my life. Okay? You don't have to fill out the FAFSA to get merit money. If some people think that, you don't have to. Start having those discussions. Some of you are thinking like, oh, University of Mars sounds like a good distance away from Lake Zurich. That'd be perfect. And mom and dad are like, is Lake Forest closer than Naperville? Because I want you at that distance. So have some discussions about that. How far is too far? How close is too close? Okay, think about those types of things. Starting junior year, my job is to help you find your fit for college. I meet with seniors, I meet with juniors, occasionally I meet with sophomores. Like, I'm looking for this major at these schools that have this. Can you help me? Yes. That's why I have a job. That's why you guys pay me. That's what I do. Okay? And by the way, thank you. I have the best job in the district. By far. So thank you for that. There's going to be a couple junior meetings, a couple senior meetings, all about college stuff, applying, researching, all sorts of things over the next couple years. Okay? I promise you, I will let you know about them via email. They'll be posted. You will not have a lack of emails from me over the next 2 years or 3 years. Okay? I think the single most important thing you can do until you actually learn about a college is get your butt on campus. Visit it. Every college has the same pictures online, right? The multicultural group playing guitar in the dorm room, the bell tower or clock, right? The fall leaves, the kids laughing in the cafeteria, right? They all have the same pictures. They never have an ugly kid in any of those pictures either, right? If you go on campus, you have to see if you fit in. You have to see if that's what you like. You can't just look at pictures. Okay? Yes?
Do you go to specific places and talk to specific people when you're on campus?
On every website of every college, there's a button that says visit. And you set up an official visit, because we want them to know you're there, because some schools actually track interest, so they want you to know if you're coming. But you'll have some sort of presentation like this, you'll have a tour, and then depending on the size of the college or what kind of night it is or what kind of day it is, you can meet with different people in different departments. If there's an open house, every department will be there. If it's during the week, during spring break, you might be able to meet with somebody in your intended major. I'm not a big fan of windshield visits, like you're driving through, like that's a pretty school, and that's all you see, right? You need to get out, you need to see what's on the bulletin boards, you need to eat in the cafeteria, because you're going to eat in there for at least a year, so get used to that. But I'm always take an official visit. I don't care how old you are, take an official visit. And if you're going to drive 3 hours to one school, I bet there's another one that you should have visited somewhere along the line. Don't always visit just one size. A lot of kids are like, why would I go to a school smaller than my high school? Because everybody wants to be there. That's why kids choose small schools. They want that. So what a great idea. Everyone there is very interested in being there. Okay, so don't say I don't want that if you've never tried it. Okay? Are there questions? I know I went through a ton. Again, I can email this to you. At some point, it's going to be posted with me wandering around up here talking. There's my email address. Email me anytime. I usually get back to you pretty quickly. Are there any questions of something I didn't cover that anybody has? I'm not that good. This presentation? Yes. That's why we're taping it. They'll be able to watch it. The whole thing's been taped. Yes?
What's the average number of colleges students are applying to?
Average number of colleges students are applying to. Normal students or spastic students? I say our average is probably 6 or 7. That's a little, that's okay for me. High end, I hate to say it, we've had over 20. And each one costs money, usually. Not all of them, most of them cost money. Here's the thing, you only get to go to one. At some point, you have to narrow that down. So if you apply to 20 schools and all 20 schools say yes, you still got to narrow it down to one. I'm a big fan of narrowing it down ahead of time and getting it down to a more manageable number. Do your homework. How much is it going to cost? Do they have my major? That kind of stuff. I'm a much bigger fan of doing that and concentrating your efforts in a smaller area. My oldest daughter had a weird combination of majors. We visited 14 schools in 7 states. She applied to 5. She went to 1. Okay. My younger daughter, very specific major, not a weird one. We visited 8 or 9. She applied to 3. She goes to 1. Right. I know that's not the same for everybody, but that's just from the college counselor of my own kids. Any other questions? Yes? No. Every question was, do you need to take the ACT or SAT? They don't care which test you take. Either one. Every college takes both. All right, I'm going to let you go. I know it's late. Thank you so much. Email me if you have questions. Thank you.